Good morning, America. How are you? Monday Morning Rail. Hi, I'm Denny Jelsma, and I'm at the world famous Jacksonville Terminal Railroad Museum. Today is Monday, and you know what we do on Monday? You guessed it, we do show and tell. And show and tell is always brought to you by Jelsma Graphics, the people that make all the embroidered railroad clothing, shirts, hats, club shirts, you name it, anything to do with embroidered railroad clothing. Jelsma makes it since 1985. That's JELSMA.com. And with all that being said, show and tell is going to start real soon. But we want to thank everybody for watching all of our videos. We've been kind of absent because number two, the cameraman, and you're going to see he's putting on a program today. And him and Richard went up north to West Virginia and to Pennsylvania, and they went riding trains, and number two had to wear a hat because he didn't want to be, and over his face, because he didn't want to be bothered by all the people asking him for autographs. He wanted to kind of take a vacation from the publicity, and I understand that. So once again, remember, number two and Richard, they're always available for autographs. They have the glossies, and the same thing goes with the world famous railroad photographer Andrew Casey, and they're always here on Monday morning. Now, with all that being said, number two is going to talk about a very interesting thing that he likes to show off this Monday show and tell.
Winter of 1955, and the northbound Miamian has just pulled into historic St. Augustine, the oldest continuously populated city in the United States. The Miamian was a winter-only train from obviously Miami to New York. Carried both coaches and sleepers, and it has just made its final stop before reaching Jacksonville. So we will now head to Jacksonville. We're now entering Jacksonville Terminal. Here, the the Florida East Coast will turn the train over to the Atlantic coastline for the rest of its trip. Coastline sent all their Miami trains down over the FEC until the merger with airline and the strike. So here we are in Jacksonville. Hi, I'm Greg Tern. I kind of forgot to introduce myself at the beginning of this show. As Denny said, I'm normally the cameraman and his helper at the big train shows that we go to. But today I just wanted to talk about something a little different, and at the end we're going to show off one of my pride and joys. But anyway, here we are in Jacksonville, And we're first going to take the FEC engines to the engine house. Okay, the coastline engines had already been spotted in the station, ready to put on the train. So now we will pull them out of the track that they were staged on and attach them to the Miamian. Okay, the towerman will throw its slip switch and give the engineer a signal to back onto the train. Now we've coupled up. The steam lines and the electrical lines have all been connected, and it's now time to head north.
All aboard!
We're now pulling into Richmond. where the third of the four railroads that cooperated to run the Miamian takes over. The coastline will transfer the Miamian now to the Richmond, Fredericksburg, and Potomac. Normally, the coastline engines would run through. Richmond and Fredericksburg and Potomac had a special train stop system, and the Atlantic coastline engines were equipped to run on that. If the coastline engine had a problem with the automatic stop system, an RF&P engine would have been put on to lead the train, because again they needed that automatic stop system. Today we're in luck. Everything's working well. And we're now ready to leave Richmond and head to Washington. Okay, we are now pulling into the lower level of Washington Union Station, where we will make our final transition to the Pennsylvania Railroad. We're going to cut off the coastline engines, and they are going to go out to the Ivy City Engine Terminal, where they will have some time to converse with Southern engines, coastline, obviously coastline engines, seaboard engines, Chesapeake and Ohio engines, Baltimore and Ohio engines, some MP54s, which are the electric commuter cars on the Pennsylvania, and just rest for a little while after their trip from Jacksonville. We now have coming down from Ivy City Terminal the most iconic motor in the United States, Pennsylvania's GG-1 electric. 139 of these magnificent motors were built between 1934 and 1943. They served on the Penn Central, Conrail, Amtrak, and New Jersey Transit, with the last one being retired in 1983. They were built to replace the P5s. Pennsylvania had ordered two samples, an R1, which was built by Westinghouse, which was a 2D two-wheel arrangement, and the GG-1 built by GE with its 2C plus C2 wheel arrangement, which was based on New Haven's EP5. Both were equally powerful, but the GG-1 was much easier on the track than the R1, and therefore the GG-1s were what was built. A few specs: in passenger service, GG-1 had 100 mile per hour maximum. It had a continuous horsepower rating of 4,620 and a short-term rating of 8,500 horsepower. We're now ready to depart Washington, head to New York on the final lap of our trip.
All aboard!
We're now coming into Penn Station, New York. We've gone under the Hudson River in the Hudson River tubes and entering Penn Station. Here, the train will terminate. However, from here you can make connections on the New Haven and all points north to Boston. So we have come to the end of our trip. We've looked at 4 railroads cooperating to run a train, and they did this consistently. Every train that came out of Florida and went to New York went through this approximate process, as well as trains that came out of Atlanta and other trains that were forwarded by the Pennsy into New York City. It took a great deal of cooperation to make this work. And just think, you might be able to do this on your model railroad if you have a station, or just like we did. We used the same station to stand in for 3 different ones and did this whole operation. And thank you for listening.
Well, thank you, number 2. That was so interesting. And I'm just amazed every time we run trains here at the world-famous Jacksonville Terminal Railroad Museum, because we try to be as accurate as possible. And our whole goal here at the museum is to preserve the history of railroading, and especially in North Florida. And once again, thank you very much, number 2. Absolutely fabulous. He loves the GG-1, and he said, hey, I want to do my GG-1. I want to do my GG-1. And we finally had an opportunity to show you how important the GG was in the train operations from New York to Miami. And with that being said, that's the way it is at the world-famous Jacksonville Terminal Railroad Museum in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida, where the sun always shines, and running trains is an absolute pleasure, peace and harmony, and air-conditioned comfort.